is regulating? As a professional body, it has to be, certified. There has to be regulatory body. There have to be sanctions. There has to be code of conduct. Then how do you practice? You have to stick to the ethics of the profession.
Right.
All those as are today, particularly with the advent of so many private radio and television stations, it's just God for us all. Nobody is regulating, nobody is controlling, nobody is going to sanction.
Okay.
And so it's a thing that we should critically address, and that's why I commend this program for an attempt to unravel, or like you said, unpack the mystery or the challenge of why NUJ has not, journalism in Nigeria has not gone fully professional.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Comrade Shodeke, we have the code of conduct. Why is this the thing not being done? You know, why are we not registering journalists as professionals?
Well, thank you very much. I think we need to trace the genesis of how we started, where are we, and what are we likely to, where we are likely to get to in the nearest future. But I've always canvassed this position, and when I was chairman of NUJ, I pushed this to the front burner, but unfortunately, it didn't receive the desired overwhelming support.
Right.
What do I mean? If you take a look at other
professional
bodies in Nigeria today, NBA, NMA, many of them are current, that is Nigeria Institute of Engineers and the likes, they have a takeoff point. And what is that takeoff point? After you must have graduated from the institution, then it is imperative for you that you must undertake some professional courses. So we missed it when NIJ came into being. NIJ should have been what law school is to the law profession. NIJ should have been what current is to NSE, and so on and so on. NIJ should have been what ICANN is to accounting profession. So not that you cannot come and practice journalism, but you have to undertake, maybe it's going to be 6 months or 1 year, so that you'll be well rooted. It's beyond having the skill to write English. It's beyond having the skill to write grammar. But once you are able to go through that NIJ, you'll be certified that you are now a truly professional journalist, and nobody will take anything from you, because you have to also, the body will dictate what should be your salary, how should be the code of conduct that you talked about now, so that everybody will now fall in line with that code of conduct.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, we miss that.
Thank you very much. Let's look at the issue of ethics and esteem and prestige. Okay, you would like to say something
before we go into the ethics and prestige, I think the founding fathers, they had the dream of making journalism a professional one in this country. I remember Peter Enauro, Peter Pan, and later Tony Mormon. They had in those days what they called Times Academy, which was supposed to be training journalists. And like rightly said, I remember many years ago I had an opportunity of interacting with Alhaji Lateef Jakande, may Allah bless his soul. And he was the initiator of the NIJ. You know, from Nigeria he went to Ghana. And he said before he returned to Nigeria, Ghana had already started their Ghana Institute of Journalism. So that NIJ would be for Nigerian journalists, and that whoever wants to practice must go through it. Though not as strict as that of the MBA or NMA, but you have to pass through it. Like he rightly said, it goes beyond ability to write. What about the ethics? And that is why you are coming to your point. To your question
now. Yes, the issue of brown envelope and gratification. This has been a vexed issue. So, what do you think journalists of today can do, you know, to give themselves that self-respect, that esteem?
You see, a Christian will say, save us from temptations. There are temptations, and the temptations are getting harsher and harsher by the day these days because of the state of the economy and ability or inability to meet basic needs of life. So many journalists, like so many other professions, they're falling victims of quote and unquote brown envelope. It takes an individual, and it takes integrity, it takes the character for one to conduct himself or herself as a journalist. Because I tell people, journalism as a profession is not for money making. It is a missionary assignment.
It's a missionary assignment.
There's no amount of money you can pay a journalist that can compensate for the effort of a journalist. If you want to go by the practice of journalism, the duty of a journalist to society. And that means that the integrity is uppermost. You must not compromise your integrity. You must not sell out. Because the moment you collect any money from anybody, or you anticipate that you collect money from anybody, then you have compromised your integrity, you have mortgaged the ethics of the profession, and then you cannot be, so to say, called a journalist. You have become something else.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. There is distress in the economy, and you know, this issue of gratification vis-a-vis brown envelope. What do you have to say to it with the level of, you know?
Thank you. It's still an offshoot of the challenge that we have identified that earlier. NIJ should have been what ICANN is to accounting. But be that as it may, the narrative can still change if we come together as a body and then set out some of these rules, the grand norms, that this is what is obtainable and the likes of that. I know of a newspaper in Nigeria that their workers, especially those that are posted outside the headquarters, they are not go for storage. If there's a report back to the office, that person is gone. And but today, that is being reversed in a way because, like you said, the economy is in a distress, and people have to find second address. Apart from writing, he said, he reiterated, and likes of that, what should be another source of income that I should have? So for me, I'll still go back to that basis, that if NIJ has been a professional platform for those who are going to practice journalism in Nigeria, it would have been better, because that would have been a platform for NUJ or whosoever is in charge to negotiate salaries for workers. Living wages. I will not be paid just like that. Take a look for a chartered accountant. So there is a template that they are using, and that template must be complied with. You can't just come up with any salary and say, okay, because I'm employing you. And you also become a outcake in town. Because if you are writing for a particular media organization and you feel that you are not being fulfilled, you can always cross to another place because you have your professional
and greater value.
That is the point. So for me, but this economy shouldn't be an excuse for journalists to run after envelope and the likes of that. Yes.
Okay, distress should not be an excuse to run after gratification. Sir, Mr. Oladoshu, I want you to help us to look at what happened recently. The Nigerian Guild of Editors had their congress right in Aso Rock. And you know, many people raised eyebrow about this. What's your take on that? I'll also ask you the same question from
Yes, you see, when journalists supposed to be, or the media generally supposed to be the watchdog of society, the moment the watchdog is compromised, then society is at risk.
Is it compromised really?
Oh, of course.
How?
Even the leadership of the NUJ is not helping matters at all levels. We, with due respect and with all sense of responsibility, we run after little money. We cringe before the powers that be. So I was in a studio some times ago, and I look up, I saw AC donated by, it was written there, donated by so and so. And I asked some of my colleagues, I said, okay, can this fellow be in your studio and you take him up and you ask hard questions? Your moral, you look up and say, no way, you'll be intimidated. Your conscience, So, you see, I saw it only NUJ, even MBA. Look at what happened in Port Harcourt. So when we, membership of the union, and that's why we're talking about professionalism, if we have gone professional, and individual members must contribute every year your dues, the union or the body will have enough money to run its affairs. This idea of going to one governor or going to one minister to ask for support, they want to host a conference, national conference or seminar, whatever, it is out of it.
Okay, so
though we can argue, can argue that it is a public fund, but again, the moment you do it, you are compromised.
Okay.
Your conscience, no, it's natural. Okay. So the best is to stay clear and be on your own, so that as a dog, you can back at whoever. So like you said, like rightly said, look, even the environment they have gone to their meeting. That environment, we say it's as, so to say, as conducive as expected?
Okay.
It is circumscribed environment.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Comrade Shodeke, you were in Abuja.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you think that environment compromised the integrity of the Nigerian Guild of Editors?
Well, to me, it is not, because what actually NG did was to have the president being part of the conference.
Okay.
Not that, because we wanted to have his own statement, wanted to have his own presence, that will further lay credence to the fact that the conference is not just a jamboree.
Right.
And there were so many thought-provoking questions that were raised, particularly from Opus Odima, governor of Imo State, who also challenged journalists in Nigeria that they need to also up their game and do more from their part and put those in government into questioning. But meanwhile, for the second day of the conference, we were not at Aso Rock. We had it at NAF Conference Center.
Okay, you moved out. Okay.
Yeah, we moved out. Okay. But because the president wanted to be part of it, and there has been security intelligence that the president cannot move out of Aso Rock at that moment in time. So we have to shift the conference, the phase of that conference, to Aso Rock. So that, to me, would not compromise what we need to do in the society. And we have already been doing that. And you also recall that, permit me to use these examples, recently a lot of stories were on the social media, even in the conventional media, about certain things happening in Nigeria. And look at the proactive steps being taken now by those in power to make sure that they right the wrong. And so, for me, it is not compromised. What we needed then was to have his own input into that conference. We had it. And for the second day, we moved out to Aso Rock and continued the conference there. Okay,
it is often said that when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So what's your advice to journalists now, especially with distress that we have, patent distress in the media?
You see, we should reflect seriously. We should have sober reflection, search our conscience, prick our conscience, that are we justifying the legacy that we inherited from our forefathers? Do we still have the likes of Lateef Jakande? Do we still have the likes of Sam Amukakpemu? Do we still have the likes of Onobolu? Do we have? So we should. Journalism is not a money-making venture. It is, like I said, it is missionary. You must be an activist, quote and unquote, and you must have a mission. And you must let your efforts, your influence, your position impact positively on society. That is, you must, as first essence of the realm, you must hold those in government accountable. But I ask the question, how can you, when we have, with due respect, when we have leadership of the NUJ going to governors, collecting money from them, the evidence are there. We have had people who had asked questions about accountability and probity. I have 2 or 3 instances that I had to intervene about leadership of the NUJ.
Is it really wrong to be supported for a provincial body?
It is not really wrong to be supported, but the way you go about it is another matter entirely. Honestly, I don't even want NUJ to be running cap in hand, like beggars, to people, to powers. You can go to organizations. Yes, why don't we find a situation where the the proprietors of all these media houses will be there to support the union? Why don't we make effort to ensure that journalism in this country is strictly professional? Now today we have so many associations, Association of Society of Nigerian Broadcaster, Society of Private Broadcaster, FIBAN, here and there. If we want the union or the media to perform its role effectively as expected, the practitioner must be totally independent of any undue interference that can mortgage their integrity and the ethics of the profession. Okay,
you're watching Your Image, and this is a public relations program where we tease out solutions to issues. One of the issues we are looking at is professionalism and ethics in the media practice. What other ways, other means of survival can journalists, engage in? What are the other ways of generating income? Well, legitimately.
Thank you for that question. My veteran here, has said some part of it, and of course, we know that we cannot run away from government patronage, and government must also be supportive in a way. But I must give it to the incumbent president of NG, that's Eze Anaba. At that opening ceremony of the conference, to the first ANEC, that is All Nigeria Editors Conference in Abuja, it is postulated a series of reforms that he felt will help the media industry in Nigeria to grow beyond the level it is now. And part of it is asking for tax rebate in a way that if tax is in a way waived for some certain things, and the media will survive. Then secondly, look at the so-called print media industry in Nigeria. The print media is dying day by the day.
Newsprint, cost of newsprint.
Cost of newsprint. So he also talked about that as well, too, that if governments are subsidizing, not really giving those into the print industry the money, but when you are bringing in the print into the country, then reduce whatever is going to be the tax that you're going to pay for
broadcast media too. The
broadcast media
cost of diesel.
Cost of diesel. That is also another albatross that is affecting the media industry in Nigeria. So, if all of this can be looked into, and President Bola Tinubu did promise that that his team will look into that and make sure that the Commonwealth is practicable reforms that will help the media industry in Nigeria, so that the media will not be strangulated, because I think there is nowhere in Nigeria, in the world, that you don't have the media go cap in hand, not necessarily to beg for money, but seeking support from one media, private organizations or the other, so as to make sure that they keep floating and they keep working.
Okay, no man is an island. To seek support, in a professional way, how can the NUJ or NIPR seek support professionally? How can it be professionally done?
Generally, let me say, the media is in a dire state in Nigeria today.
You agree?
We know that. No, we know that.
Okay.
And but you see, I wish the Nigerian Guild of Editors could put pressure on government. I always ask the question: what has happened to Okwiboku newsprint? What has happened to European pulp and paper industry? These are supposed to be producing materials for for the publishing sector in this country. They have never functioned. So if we have Okwiboku producing for newsprint, because majority of, if not all, the inputs for printing of newspapers are imported, and these are what we can source locally. So there is the need for us to look inward. The same thing for the publishing industry. If we have European that producing the paper for publishing, the cost of books will be reduced in this country. So if Nigerian Guild of Editors, the NUJ, and even Ratau can put pressure on government, for instance, the NBC should maybe give a tax holiday, for all of these radio and television stations that are privately owned or even government owned. They are not as the public media, the NTA, the Radio Nigeria, are not functioning as expected because of the challenges of power supply. So something should be done about that on the part of government. I wonder what the minister is doing within the past 2 years. He should have addressed all these issues, the Minister of Information. The challenge of broadcasting, effective broadcasting by the public media houses. So the challenges are there, and it is, the government will promise, what about the follow-up? Who will do the follow-up? Who will put pressure on government? Okay. What are the areas of needs?
Okay. Do you think proliferation of radio and television stations has contributed to some of the distress? Can't radio stations?
No, I will totally disagree with that. It has not in any way been counterproductive. It has actually helped the economy, helped the society as well. Too. You can imagine the number of people that have been mopped up of the unemployment market.
Right.
And today they are, at least, even if the pay is not what it could be termed as living wage, but at least they are getting something. So if those ones are not set up in any way, what do you think will have become of those people? Then secondly, is the proliferation has also helped in further percolating society, disseminating information to a level that even to the remotest part of any area in Nigeria, you can have access to information. And once you have access to information, you are better informed about what is going on in society, and that will help society in a way to grow as well.
Okay, in rounding off, veteran, I want to ask you, sir, do you think the media, do you think we've supported democracy enough in Nigeria?
Yes, rounding off. If democracy survives or is surviving in Nigeria, we give it to the media. Without the media, there won't be democracy. The Nigerian media, whichever way we look at it, has to a large extent been able to hold government accountable. They are to a large extent had breached the gap between the government and the public. If not for the people are now ventilating their opinions, their grievances, their views on government. And of course, we see governments are responding one way or the other. It could be some delay, could be. But if the media are not performing as expected, then there won't be democracy.
Okay. So very lastly now, what's your advice to practitioners now who may be watching you? What's your advice to them in terms of being professional and ethical in the discharge of their duties?
A lot of us went to journalism school, even those that could not go to journalism school and find themselves practicing journalism, need to also take a cue from those ones. And what we need to do is that we need to keep to the ethics of the profession. Don't go outside the ethics. Don't say because you really want to make ends meet, then you can go all out to do whatever you think might be untoward for this profession. So let's keep to the rules, let's keep to the ethics, so that together we can raise the bar of journalism in Nigeria. Okay. And like the question you asked over there, if media has not been that supportive in democracy, then the likes of the so-called political class will not also have set up Radio Kudira then, which they also used positively to gain one thing or the other.
Yeah,
and mentorship is very important. I just wish.
Are you doing that, sir? Are you mentoring the young ones?
It is left to the young ones. For instance, I know, I think Oyo and Osun State, the NUJ there, they have due respect for the veterans. Okay. They rely so much on them. Okay. And so our young ones should take a cue, and of course the elderly ones should make themselves available directly or indirectly to mentor them.
That has taken off in Ogun as well too.
Okay.
The veterans, talking about the veterans.
Thank you.
I know there's a league of veteran journalists.
Thank you very much. And on that note, we'd like to wrap it up, and I want to thank you, Mr. Adajushu, for coming.
It's my pleasure. Your image is a program that has been on for years. I want to wish you the very best.
Thank you very much.
It's highly commendable.
Thank you, sir. Comrade Shodeke.
It's my pleasure being here.
Okay, and that's it. That's the package for today. Until next week, when we come your way again with a fresh edition of the program. This is yours sincerely, Dari Folari, saying bye for now.